This is the Huey Alert Podcast with Craig and Shelly Huey, bringing you the tools to transform our nation and culture, the intersection of faith and politics.
Hi, it's Craig Huey, the Huey Alert, and I'm so glad you're joining us today. Now, you'll notice that Shelly's not with me, so she'll be in the next episode, but boy, am I excited. There's someone I really respect in regards to his understanding of the investment market and artificial intelligence that we're having as our guest. And James, welcome to our program.
Craig, I am so happy to be here. I am a fan, and so this is an honor for me.
Awesome. Well, listen, the reason I wanted you to come is you have a real good knowledge base of so many things, and investment is one of them. Hopefully at the end we're going to get to Israel, but for investments, all the buzz right now is what's going on with AI.
Sure.
And with Elon Musk now close to President Trump, with Trump going to take away the regulations that Biden signed in with an executive order, it seems like it's a new day for AI, and maybe investors might want to take a look. What do you think, and what do you know?
I mean, with or without President Trump, the AI train has left the station. I mean, this is changing the entire world, and not only the entire world, every industry in the world.
Wow.
By the way, but deregulation, less regulation helps.
Yes.
You know that China is not going to regulate, and that does sort of free them up in a way. But we are so far ahead in terms of being innovators. I mean, that's why they steal our intellectual property all the time.
Yes.
But with President Trump there and with less regulation, this is like going to be shooting fish in a barrel in terms of the exciting announcements we're going to see about AI in the next 1 month, 6 months, year, and so on.
So you see it kind of like an unstoppable trend.
Unstoppable.
And
by the way, I've been working in the AI space, since I was an undergrad student.
Wow.
My first AI project, I was funded by the National Science Foundation in 1987.
Wow.
To write a chess program. Then I worked on everything from whether you call it missile systems to using AI I started a hedge fund to trade stocks. I worked on AI in machine learning in terms of modeling emotions. And I've been all around the AI space for decades.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So with AI, you've kind of have not only a great understanding of how it's being used, where it's headed, but also how to invest in it. What's kind of the hot trend right now?
Well, you have to remember, a lot of people right now are saying, "Oh, what is this AI stuff? How do I invest in it?"
Right.
There's NVIDIA. They make the chips for AI. That's like the headlines on the Wall Street Journal. But they have to remember, AI does not equal NVIDIA. NVIDIA, it reminds me of 1995.
Right.
What was the hottest stock? Cisco, because the internet, everybody said, okay, well, this internet thing seems to be happening.
Right.
And Cisco made the routers that built the internet.
Yeah.
But then nobody ever spoke about Cisco again.
Yeah.
Like, I think Cisco has the same value now it had in 2003. And NVIDIA is going to, I don't want to say NVIDIA is going to be the same, but there are a lot of exciting AI companies. You know, I deal with a lot of companies. I invest all across the investing spectrum.
Yes.
Every company, every division in every company is being told right now by their bosses, you must use artificial intelligence to increase revenues, profits, and so on. So that incorporates a lot of different companies to help them in AI. NVIDIA does make these chips that Google and Microsoft and others use to build their own AI models.
Right.
But an NVIDIA chip is $40,000 a chip.
Yeah.
So sometimes if I want an AI phone, I'm not going to spend $40,000 for a phone. So there are other AI companies, other chips. Then there are, here's what I think is like an AI stack. There's the general chips like NVIDIA.
Right.
Then there's the data center companies, which is how you build
a lot of people talk
models.
about investing in data centers.
Absolutely. And then there's, let's say, application-specific chips, like, the chips that you use in phones and so on. Then there's enterprise software for AI. Then there's you need, in order to have AI, you need the data to help the AI learn. So then there's the data layer. Then there's consumer software companies. And in each layer, there's a bunch of layers. And the reason I talk about this AI stack is just like with the internet, as we go down the stack, there's going to be a new quote unquote NVIDIA at each layer.
Wow.
There's going to be exciting companies
Wow.
at each layer. Again, long after NVIDIA will do fine, but
Yeah.
we'll forget about it eventually as like the hot play.
Right.
So
So very interesting. So it focuses on NVIDIA right now, but there's some other stocks that are maybe early stage or coming into play that somebody who's thinking about investing 1,000 or 5,000 or 10,000 or 50,000 might want to take a look at. What would that be?
sure, I mean, there's a lot. Again, let's say we're talking about the data centers. Then there's smaller companies. There's a company called Credo, CRDO, which builds the networking between the supercomputers in the data centers, so these computers can talk at super speed of light, to each other through an Ethernet that Credo sets up.
Right.
And I know that sounds like technical.
Yeah.
Right now we're still at these technical
Yeah.
levels, but then even going down further, you can look at. I mean, we were just talking about this healthcare AI
Yes.
company, Healwell.
Right.
It's Canadian company. It trades
Yes.
in Canada and OTC in the U.S. But that creates an opportunity. Any great company.
It has U.S. operations too.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
their main a lot of their main
Yeah,
businesses
yeah.
are in the U.S. But what they have is, this is so fascinating. They took 18 million patient records. So a patient record might be, I call up and said, "Oh, my head hurts, my leg hurts," and they ultimately conclude I have brain cancer, and that's a record. So they have 18 million patient records and medical histories. They glommed it together in this AI model that learned about, if a patient complains about this, they take these drugs, they've had this history, then here are the diseases or possible diagnosis we should think about.
Right.
So they have these 18 million patient records. And then let's say you go to a doctor
Yes.
who has this database,
Yeah.
and you have your complaints.
Right.
It runs into the doctor has no clue. It runs
Yeah.
into the AI, and the AI says, oh, he should check out for, rheumatoid arthritis,
Right.
and maybe take this medicine
Right.
because he might be allergic to this medicine.
Right.
Like the AI will know things the doctor doesn't know, because
Wow.
it's 18 million
It's a big
patient
breakthrough.
records. Yeah.
Big breakthrough.
Big breakthrough. And no doctor has the understanding of, well, based on the last 18 million patients who visited me, but the AI does. It's like
Right.
this super doctor.
Yes.
Now, will this replace doctors?
Yes.
Of course not, because we still need the doctor to hold. Like if you just have an AI tell you, well, you might have this disease, this disease, this disease. We all know from Googling
Right.
symptoms, that is not the answer
No.
for our mental health or our
No.
physical health. So the doctors could guide us through the process of, okay, this is what you need. These are how I understand the odds. These are, the things you should think about and prioritize.
Right.
But the AI is going to be such a great tool for us as patients, for doctors, for the medical industry, just like in every other area. Oh, will AI replace, I don't know, logo designers? You have a new restaurant, you want to make
Right.
a logo.
Right.
The AI will generate a lot of ideas
Yeah.
for you. It's great for ideas, but you still need, a professional designer to say, you know what, I like this color with the brand you're telling me about, and
Yes.
and so on. And that's never going to change.
So what you're telling me though with these patients, it seems to align so well with the trend of making America healthy again, because RFK Jr. and the administration wants to push early detection. They want to push, and it sounds like the AI in this company is able to give you an early indicator to be able to prevent a particular problem from happening where it gets in an advanced stage.
Right. If the only use for AI
Yeah.
ever was just this,
Yeah.
it would make the world, this by itself makes the world so much a better place. And this is
Wow.
not coming 15 years from now, 20 years from
Yeah.
now. This is already here.
Yeah.
It's being rolled out to patients now.
Wow.
And, think about it in terms of what RFK Jr. is
Yeah.
doing. We kind of know that prevention is the cure, that early diagnosis
right.
is the cure.
Yes.
And if you think about it, why has the longevity of, let's say, the world or Americans gone from, let's say, 69 to 79 over the past 50 years?
Yes.
It's because we know, it's not because of brand new cures by
Yeah.
big pharma. That
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
helps a tiny bit.
Yeah.
But really the big thing is we know that things like cigarette smoking are not good for you.
Right.
So 50% of Americans used to smoke in 1960, and now 10% of
Yeah,
Americans smoke. And smoking takes 11 years off your life on
Right.
average. So we
Right.
just know this. So of course that's now 5 years of explaining 5 years of the increase in longevity. But now imagine if we know this about so many other just obscure little aspects of our lifestyle that, the AI will say, well, based on these 3 million patients in its model, if you did this, this, and this, and you have this kind of job, and you have this kind of history, you're probably not going to live as long as you would like. So we suggest this.
Yeah.
That is going to extend longevity, but more importantly, quality of life. You don't want to be living on some medicine that's barely keeping you alive just to say you're alive.
For sure.
You want quality of life.
Yeah, right. That's a pretty amazing company. So that's Healwell.
Yeah.
Is it Paladin? What?
Palantir.
Palantir. So I keep hearing people talking about Palantir.
Yeah. So look, back 10 years ago, I had lunch with the CEO, Joe Lonsdale, and the CEO then, Joe Lonsdale, and the co-founder. And he said, look, this was long before it was public. He said, I'm trying to sell some shares of Palantir, and I'll explain what it is in a second. And I'm like, okay, well, what valuation? He said $5 billion. And I didn't do it. Now it's worth $100 billion. I wish I had done it. But Palantir, it basically helps keep America safe.
Yeah.
But in this digital way. So, after 9/11, we realized all these terrorists were using U.S. banks to fund their operations.
Right.
And all these criminals, then we saw in the mortgage crisis, all these criminals even in the banking industry were using banks in kind of fraudulent ways.
Right.
So Palantir was created to use AI to look at, this is based on everything we know about how terrorists do transactions, our AI is telling us this transaction here that happened yesterday is a little suspicious.
Right.
Look into who did this.
Yeah.
And this has stopped so many criminal operations, terrorist operations.
Wow.
It's really helped make America safe. And now Palantir, for instance, is even being used in war zones because it takes data from the geospatial satellites that have all the images of everything. And they say, looks like there's some unusual things that have happened in this area over the past day. It might be troops, amassing on a border.
Right.
And, Palantir is one of the purest plays in AI out there for AI software.
Right.
And here's the interesting thing. Who funded Palantir? The biggest investor in Palantir when it was private was the CIA.
Wow.
So the CIA has a VC firm called In-Q-Tel.
Wow.
And this was their biggest investment. And of course, they're going to immediately help all the banks, help the government.
Right.
Now, there is this, people could view this and get a little scared and say, oh, I don't know if I want AI looking at every single thing I do. Look, and I hate to put it this way, but you have nothing to worry about if you have nothing to worry about. Don't be a terrorist and you're fine.
So that brings up the whole issue that many people watching this and listening to this podcast are saying, I'm afraid of AI. Should I be afraid of AI?
Well, I think people are afraid of AI just like people were afraid of cars in 1900. Oh, if you go faster than 35 miles per hour, you're going to have a heart attack.
Right.
Or computers versus the typewriter. Bill Gates even predicting the microcomputer won't be used by anybody.
Right.
Don't do it. And even like the internet, people were saying, we're never going to leave our computer screens. We have to go outside and talk to people.
Right.
And yet, look, you and I met through the internet.
Yes.
Most of the people I know now I've met through the internet. And a lot of, innovation happens when ideas get exchanged. Ideas sort of mate with each other and have baby ideas.
Right.
And that happens because the speed of communication has accelerated so much this past 50 years with the internet.
Yeah.
And it's the AI is the same thing. Yeah. Now AI's along for the ride with us, creating ideas. Give me 10 ideas for logos, or give me 10 ideas about how I can market my business.
Yeah.
I have a music band. Give me 10 ideas to market it, or even ideas for songs. So these are just spurious examples.
Sure. Yeah.
But, always think of AI as an assistant. I'll give you an example.
Okay.
My first job offer outside of college, and this is 1990 about, was a company called Lincoln Laboratories. It was funded by MIT and the Department of Defense. And the job offer was to work on software that says, here's a radar image, which objects are in space are junk and which objects are nuclear missiles heading towards the United States.
Right.
So obviously, this technology existed one way or the other in 1990. We could have hooked it up to the red button Then
Wow.
that's AI. We could have hooked
Yeah,
it up
yeah,
and said,
yeah.
look, if you see nuclear missiles, just
Yeah.
launch back.
Yeah.
But we don't do that. We're
Yeah.
humans.
Yes.
We know we need to
Right.
be in control,
Yes.
and we can't just hand it over to software.
Yeah.
But AI is great. AI is the tool that could say, hey, you might want to look at this object. It looks pretty fast coming into us. But it's ultimately, we didn't do that. We didn't say, yeah, we have the AI. Let's just kick back while we let AI decide
Right.
to go to nuclear war. We know what's safe and what's not, and our leaders have known, and so on.
So we know what's safe, and one last question about this before I talk about one more thing, and that is communist China. Since they have a moral system that's different than ours, where they have an objective of world domination, or at least domination in China's sphere, that AI, how afraid should I be about what they're doing, which will be different than maybe AI anywhere else in the world?
Yeah, it's a really good point. They're not going to have any ethical qualms.
Right.
So, for instance, they will use AI to know how to use social media
Yes.
to influence us and trigger us,
Right.
and create dissent among us.
Which
By
they're
the way,
doing now.
yeah, today they're doing it today.
Yeah.
And by the way, we have ways of resisting that.
Right.
We're not just sitting back eating popcorn
Right.
either. Like, we have the best AI people in the world, and companies like Palantir that are identifying these things. It's always harder. It's always easier to be on the offense, like
Yes.
China is,
Yeah,
than
yeah.
on the defense, like we are.
Right.
But we are constantly in this battle of increasing our knowledge and,
Yeah.
and technology to combat these things. And also, we're getting an awareness. Like, even at this point, you and I and everybody here could look at a video on TV, on YouTube, and say, you know what, that feels like AI to me. And even though, no matter how great it is, it's just like when you look at a movie
Yeah.
and you see, like, oh, it feels like
Yeah.
that guy's acting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're not, yes, we're going to get influence. Large portions of our society are going to get persuaded into things. But in general, we have survived that for decades already.
Right.
When it was other forces
Yeah.
doing it, whether it was smart,
Yeah.
marketers or early
Yeah.
versions of AI.
Right.
Again, AI has been around for decades.
Yes.
So it's not like we woke up and like, whoa, there's AI now.
Yeah.
And here's another thing people are afraid of: is, will AI one day wake up and be intelligent? No, because AI doesn't have our genes, our
Yeah.
DNA.
Right.
Our dolphins are intelligent, but they're not really,
Right.
they're not pulling out guns and shooting us.
Right.
Like, they're not humans. And so AI is just going to be AI, and we're humans. So we're a gazillion times more complicated than the most sophisticated AI ever will be. And again, always think of it as a tool.
Yeah.
And that's all it ever will be. Now, it might be a tool that's tried to be used against us. It won't be better than us. It
Yes.
won't dominate us and our abilities to come up with tools to fight it.
Wow. Awesome, profound, and very good insight. So as we end, you and I, before we got on, we're talking a little bit about Israel. Like Shelly and myself, we've been to Israel a number of times. You just got back not long ago from Israel. Mike Huckabee has been made the ambassador to Israel. As an evangelical Christian, he is one of the biggest defenders of keeping the sovereignty of Israel and peace in Jerusalem. And just thought I'd pick your brain on your thoughts about that nation state during the Trump administration. What do you see happening?
I almost hate to say this, Craig, because I don't want to sound foolish, and
Right.
sometimes optimism sounds foolish compared to pessimism. Always sounds smart,
Right.
and optimism sometimes sounds foolish.
Yes.
But I am a very much of an optimist. I think for the past, I don't know how many years, we've had administrations that have tried to appease Iran.
Right.
Like, oh, here's a $6 billion of your money back. Sure, here's some nuclear fuel for your energy
Right.
programs. Please
Right.
don't hurt us with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, and our administration would say to Israel, listen, yes, they sent over some bombs to
Yeah.
you. Just hold back. We
Yeah.
don't want to. I think that period is over.
Yes.
I think the Iranian population is mostly secular. They
Yes.
are good
Oh, yeah.
people.
Oh,
and
yeah.
and
They want their freedom.
Right. They want their freedom.
Yeah.
And they're going to get it. I think there's going to, under President Trump, Mike Huckabee communicating to Israel. We already know Israel has the technology and the weapons to pretty much decide when the Iran leadership leaves or not. By the way, it's not just Israel. Saudi Arabia, Dubai, Kuwait, these countries are on Israel's side.
Yes.
By the way, none of them have taken in the Palestinians.
No.
They're all on Israel's side.
Right.
And, you know, one of the reasons October 7th happened is Saudi Arabia was normalizing relations with Israel.
They wanted to mess it up.
So all of these people know that you either trade bullets or ideas.
Yes.
They want to, Saudi Arabia wants to diversify from oil. They want Israel's ideas. They saw how Israel built up this technological, renaissance in the Middle East while they were just, still living off of oil.
Yes.
They want that. Dubai is maybe going to be the international capital of the world soon, next to New York.
Yeah.
And it's already heading there. And Kuwait, obviously a longtime friend of the U.S.
Right.
And now we see Iran's funding the Houthis, which is stopping the traffic of oil. They're funding Hezbollah, and these are not this religious leadership is not religious.
Right.
They're funding the Shia and the Sunnis, which are typically enemies. Hamas is Sunni, Hezbollah is Shia, Houthis are Shia, and right now everybody wants them gone.
Yes.
Nobody wants them.
Right.
And Israel has the power to take them, get them away, as does the U.S.
Yeah.
When Reagan did a military strike on the Iranians in 1987. He took out their entire Navy and Army, and then they're like, "Whoa, just relax."
Right.
And then things changed. But so that Iran's not gonna be there for long. The current leadership, and we're gonna have a peace dividend.
Wow.
Like think of when the Soviet Union fell. We're gonna have a peace dividend like we've never seen before.
That's so awesome.
Might last decades. Because what is the next problem? Of course, China. But when they see we have the flow of oil and everybody is like, happy we took out Iran.
Right.
China's going to fall in. They want to be capitalists. She wants to stay in power forever. Who knows what will happen with Putin, but they have no military. They have no economy other than oil.
Yeah.
So I think I'm optimistic for an enormous peace dividend. The civilization started in Jerusalem, and it's going to start again.
Yes. That is awesome. James, that's why I love your work and why I wanted to introduce you to all of our listeners and viewers. So somebody listening, they want to find out more about what you have to say and your stock recommendations, your thoughts about politics and economics and social issues and all these. What can they do to be able to learn more?
Well, first off, I always agree with many of the things you say, Craig. They should continue listening to your podcast and tell all their friends about it. Someone could follow me on Twitter, J Altucher, Altucher.
Yes.
I wrote a book called Choose Yourself, which has a lot of my ideas about finding fulfillment within yourself rather than relying on a government or a business or a job or whatever. But, and if they want to ask me questions, tag me on Twitter. I will answer any of your listeners.
That's awesome. So you're very open to responding.
Yeah, I enjoy doing that.
Great. And the handle again is?
J Altucher, Jaltucher.
Everyone, I hope you check it out. And thanks a lot for listening and watching. And you know what? Next episode, we'll have Shelly back with us. But in the meantime, a lot of friends, a lot of family members, they would probably benefit from hearing about what we talked about today. So if you could simply take the podcast, use your email list, use your text, post it, send this out. And until next episode, God bless you all. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us this week. We are listener supported, so please consider partnering with us by donating at craighuey.com or by signing up for our free newsletter. We look forward to being with you next week. And don't forget to share this podcast with others.